Hi all and welcome back to the channel. It's been a little while since I've done a vlog post video, as last week was half term and I was taking some downtime from my main job as a teacher and just taking some general downtime and well-being for myself. Now I wanted to do a slightly different video this time, and I wanted to kind of let you guys know a bit more about a few of the things on my channel. The first one being the channel, my big channel image. The second one being kind of like my little kind of icon image, and the last one being, of course, my kind of username and title name. And I'll get onto the first one, which the first one, which is my username and title. I've already talked about that a little bit. I am a Shotokan Karate second dan black belt, so I passed 2 black belt gradings, and the title comes from kind of that and achieving that last year. Again, the images, one of them of course is of that day I actually passed that grading, and the other one is just a picture of the big courses I've attended in the past with senior instructors. So that's the kind of gives you guys a little bit more insight into those. But what I wanted to talk about in this video, in this vlog, and mostly this is going to be me talking more than anything else, is that journey, my journey in Shotokan Karate, along with some further videos that I'm going to be uploading on kind of beginner syllabus for Shotokan Karate that I will be uploading as well shortly. And my karate journey begins quite a long time ago. Although I'm relatively young, it still begins a number of years back, almost 20 years ago in fact. Is when I actually started doing Shotokan Karate. I started doing Shotokan Karate back in September 2001 when I was 12. So it's now February 2021, so almost 20 years of training on and off since then. And I started with my first instructor and my first association back when I was in my hometown, Woodley in Berkshire near Reading. So yeah, I started Shotokan Karate back then. I started with this guy called Richard Hughes, and he helped me through a lot of my journey, and I started with an association called the Southern Shotokan Karate Association, run by this guy, Sensei Stuart Cole. So they were kind of the 2 main instructors in my initial journey, mostly Sensei Richard Hughes. Yeah, and I trained with him for about a year or so initially. Passed 2 gradings, so I passed my white belt to my orange belt, and I also passed my orange belt to a red belt. And this is where my journey changed slightly. My family moved abroad in the summer of 2002, so I moved with them at that point because I was still in school. So I moved to the Netherlands, and it was hard. So I ended up taking up karate in the Netherlands, training at a local club there with the JKA. And it was very kind of difficult for me there. I understood the movements through demonstration and my understanding of some of the techniques names that we use in karate, but I didn't understand the language. I didn't speak Dutch, so that made it incredibly difficult for me to pass gradings, for me to actually develop as well as I could. with my skill set, and that was really hard. Gradings there weren't as regularly, they're every 6 months, and I got a lot of kind of temporary grades through a period of time. And I was there 4 years, roughly, a journey of which maybe I should have got my first dan in that point, but with all the difficulties I faced while I was there with my training, the language, everything else, still amazing that I got up to brown belt 3rd Q at that point, pretty much as I was going to leave the Netherlands. And I returned to the UK in the summer of 2006, having completed my secondary education out there. And I came back for college. I came back to Reading itself to do college because it was closer to family, because my parents and stuff were still over in the Netherlands. And I went back to my old club in Woodley and trained under Sensei Richard Hughes again for a period of 2 years until the summer of 2008. During that time, I was regularly training at least once a week, if not twice a week. And I managed to get up to my 1st Q. So just before my black belt level, I was a brown and 2 white. And then my family, by this point, had, at least my sister and my mother, had returned to the UK. And they'd moved to Maidstone in Kent. So I went and returned to my family, to my mum, my sister. And this left me in a gap really in kind of training, opportunities, in the area and stuff like that. And not necessarily wishing to switch associations, because that can be a big jump and standards are different. So, and there wasn't any club within my association that I belonged to at the time in the area. So it made it difficult, and I tried to do some training here and there when I was at different areas. At one point there was a club set up in Brighton, which was still a long journey to travel, but I travelled there and trained with an instructor there. This just about with some kind of spring and winter training courses that the association provided me, just about allowed me to achieve my first dan. It took 3 attempts to get there, but I finally achieved that in December 2010. I got my first dan, my black belt, which was a huge achievement. It was the goal and aim when I first started, but I realised afterwards there's a lot more to my journey as a karateka, as a karate student, and I wanted to carry on. And by this point I'd already realised that I actually wanted to kind of instruct from maybe one day run my own club and teach what I learned from karate to others. At this point I had a big break, a big gap in my training, because I just didn't have a club I could go to at the time or felt really comfortable to go to. It's hard to switch association. It's hard to switch away from what you know. And yeah, so I had quite a gap for some time. When I went off to uni in Bedford, in Bedfordshire, I did a little bit, I joined a taekwondo club because I missed my martial arts, and it was something different from karate and new, so that wasn't the same, and that was great. But then I found out about the Karate Union of Great Britain, and there was a club set up in Milton Keynes, which wasn't too far a drive from where I was in Bedford. And I started training there, and I really enjoyed it again, getting back into the flow of training in karate, and it was great. While I was there, I also realised about the standards within the Karate Union of Great Britain, and following on from that, my own research earlier, prior to that, which was the summer before of the summer of 2015. I knew about a KGB club in Maidstone, where I lived in Kent, and I did check it out at the time, but I didn't really have the funds. As a uni student, money was quite tight, savings and all. So yeah, I didn't have a chance at the time, but by kind of February 2016, I realised I wanted to kind of train again and really kind of work on things. So I went back to training. I started at the Milton Keynes Club, and then once I finished uni in the summer of 2016, I moved back down to the Maidstone Club, to Shotokan, and joined up there. And I did lots of courses, lots of training for a long time from the summer of 2016. Training hard because the standard was higher, and my karate's come on so much since that point of time. Yeah, and it took a while. I've had injuries, knocks, operations, so it took another 4 years of really kind of solid effort, training, attended courses, Easter and summer courses, to really push forward my karate to get it up to the standard required to go for the next grade. And then April 2019, at the spring course, I had my first attempt at my second dan. I didn't quite pass at that point. My kata wasn't quite up to the standard at that time, so it was meant going away, training hard, which I did. I wasn't able to grade as early as I hoped. I had an operation in October of 2019, which meant I wasn't able to go to a grading course just prior to Christmas 2019, because the operation was on my core. My core muscles weren't quite up to it yet, and messed up my tightening and sharpness a little bit. So I had to wait a little bit longer. Luckily there was a course in March 2020. And I say luckily because I'll explain in a minute why. I went to the course, did the course, and resit my grading, and I passed. I passed my kata, my first kata, my choice kata, and then the grading examiner's kata as well. And it was great. I mean, it was a great day. My instructor was there, which was great. Some club members who were attempting their first dams were there, so it was great to have that support from people at the club, because we were all supporting each other when we were doing gradings and courses and stuff like that, competitions, so it was great. So I achieved my next aim, getting my second dan, and it was important for me for a couple of reasons. A, it meant that my grades as such, although I was grading up, was ratified with the switch to the Karate Union of Great Britain, which was great. And also because of that, it enabled me to start my next part of the journey that I've been wanting to do for years, which is to become an instructor and hopefully eventually run my own club. And the Karate Union of Great Britain has an instructor's qualification program. So after passing my second dan, it enabled me to start that process. But as I said, I was lucky. March 2020. Because it was about the 14th of March. A week later, with the whole COVID-19 situation, the UK went into lockdown, and we've had restrictions ever since on training. So I was incredibly lucky to be able to go to that course, because there hasn't been a black belt grading since that point. And we're now at February 2020, so almost a year down the line. So in that sense, I'm incredibly lucky to have had that opportunity to be able to grade and actually get my grading out of the way. The UK's now been in lockdown restrictions on and off since then. Initially, that meant we had to kind of move to learning at home and over the internet on Zoom. Which is difficult. It's not so easy when you're on your own in your own home and your instructor's on the screen and all your kind of peers who you train with also in their homes. It's not easy. So we were on Zoom for quite a few months really. We were on Zoom until the summertime, about June time-ish, when they started allowing us to do outdoor training. So we started, my club I was at we initially was training outside in the park, which was great. At least we got to train together. That was great. And eventually we were able to move on to sorry, the school site. We train out of our primary school hall, and we were able to move on to the school field, which was useful because it wasn't so seen by people. There wasn't people moving about. It wasn't a public park. And then at one point in September, we were able to actually return to inside training, which was great. It was limited. There was only 10 of us in the space we were training in, but at least it allowed us to train with everyone inside in the winter months. And then we hit down lockdown 2 in November, and we went back to online training and everything like that. It's stayed that way since, because of being in Kent. Lockdown 2, we went into tier 3 at the time, still with loads of restrictions, and then tier 4. And then another lockdown in January, which isn't finished yet. We're about to have the school return in just over a week or so. And things will start being relaxed out of lockdown again. But we're online training for now, for the time being. So February 21 was still in restrictions still in place. Instructor qualifications kind of been put on hold at the moment, partly because of that, but also partly because there's things going on in the association wise. There's a lot of politics going on. Sounds like some big issues that I'm not in the know, is the best way to say. I'm not in the know, and there's a lot of kind of talk, my instructor's been talking to others about splitting away from the karate union fitting, and that's slightly gutting for me because I switched associations. I switched over to KGB because of the standards, because of my instructor, and yeah, so it's a little bit gutting that there might be change for us again. You're thinking, what's going to happen with grades, everything else? So that's still up in the air. I don't know the situation yet. Waiting to be told. But yeah, so that's currently where we are. Currently in 2021, and that gives you guys a bit of an insight on my journey in karate. And I'm hoping that we'll be training again properly soon. That's my hope anyway. Hopefully that was a bit insightful about my journey in karate, where I'm going. And I'm hoping to kind of do some more videos in and around karate. As I said at the start, some stuff on syllabus that I'm going to plan to do a bit here at home to give you guys some understanding of Shotokan Karate, kind of the basics for a beginner, for a white belt, and the grades. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, guys. If you can, give it a thumbs up, that'd be great. And hit that subscribe button, as I'm really trying to get my numbers up and my subscribers up, and that would be great. And I'll see everyone tomorrow. Bye for now.